In 2024, Microsoft announced it was restarting a nuclear power plant. Not to power a city, not to power a country, to power a chatbot. One of the most valuable software companies in history is now reactivating nuclear infrastructure. Because running AI at scale has become too energy intensive for the traditional power grid to handle. That single decision tells you everything about who really controls the AI revolution. And it is not the company you think. While the world watches OpenAI, Nvidia, and the race for smarter models, a small number of companies are quietly locking in control over the infrastructure that every AI system on Earth depends on. Not the models, not the algorithms, not the interfaces, the pipes, the power, the silicon, the cloud, the distribution. By the end of 2025, Microsoft, Google, Amazon, and Meta were spending nearly $400 billion a year on AI infrastructure. In 2026, that number is projected to hit $700 billion. That is not investment in innovation. That is the construction of a new kind of empire. An empire built not on territory or resources, but on the ability to control who gets access to intelligence itself. What you are about to understand is not just who controls the AI revolution. It is why that control is already permanent, and why once you see the system behind it, you will never look at a technology headline the same way again. So here is the real question. In a revolution this large, who actually wins? Is it OpenAI because it captured the world's attention? Is it Nvidia because its GPUs power almost every frontier AI system? Is it Microsoft because it embedded AI into the software a billion people use every day? The honest answer is, this is the wrong question. Because the AI revolution is not being won by a single company. It is being won by a stack. A layered system of power, where each layer depends on the ones below it and feeds the ones above it. The deepest power does not belong to the most famous name. It belongs to whoever owns the layer no one can bypass. But here is what no one explains clearly. That layer is not what you think it is. And the company that may control this entire revolution is one that almost never appears in AI headlines at all. We will get there, but first you need to understand how the foundation was built. Because without that context, the answer will not make sense. To understand how this stack was built, you have to go back further than ChatGPT. The first layer was fabrication. By 2020, a single company in Taiwan was producing over 90% of the world's most advanced chips. TSMC, not just for AI, for everything that runs the modern world. iPhones, data centers, military systems, medical equipment. When AI demand exploded, every company discovered the same brutal bottleneck. You cannot build AI without advanced chips. And you cannot build advanced chips without TSMC. If TSMC stopped production tomorrow, the entire global AI industry would run out of new processing power within months. No alternative exists. That single fact gave a 36,000 square kilometer island a geopolitical significance that entire continents do not have. The second layer was compute. Nvidia's CUDA platform had spent 15 years becoming the standard programming environment for AI research worldwide. By the time the boom arrived, the entire ecosystem had been built on Nvidia's architecture. Switching away meant rebuilding years of work from scratch. That is not a technical barrier. That is a structural trap. Built slowly enough that nobody noticed until it was too late to leave. The third layer was cloud. Microsoft, Amazon, and Google had built the largest data center networks in history. When AI became commercially necessary, those networks became the only delivery mechanism capable of running intelligence at scale. 3 layers, 3 choke points, all three locked in before most people had heard of ChatGPT. Now remember the question. Which company controls the layer no one can bypass? TSMC, Nvidia. Microsoft. Partially right. But there is a move that happened inside this stack, a quiet repositioning that concentrates more control in fewer hands than any of those three companies alone. And it did not happen through competition. It happened through something far more elegant. The master power move of the AI era was not building the smartest model. It was vertical integration without formal ownership. In January 2023, Microsoft announced a $10 billion investment in OpenAI, bringing the total to approximately $13 billion. On the surface, a bet on a promising startup. Underneath, something far more strategic. Microsoft gained the right to deploy OpenAI's models across its entire product ecosystem. Azure became the exclusive cloud provider for all of OpenAI's infrastructure. Copilot was embedded directly into Windows, Office, Teams, GitHub, and Bing. In a single move, Microsoft connected the model layer directly to enterprise distribution. 1 billion users, overnight, without acquiring OpenAI, without formally owning the technology, without triggering the antitrust scrutiny that a direct acquisition would have caused. That is not a business deal. That is a masterclass in structural power. Each hyperscaler made the same calculation. The model that runs inside the system people already depend on wins by default. That is not competition. That is architectural capture. And here's the question nobody wants to answer publicly. If one company controls the distribution, the cloud infrastructure, and the exclusive deployment rights of the most used AI model on Earth, is that still a free market? Or is it something else entirely? Think about that. Because every layer of this stack has one dependency nobody is talking about. One resource that if it disappeared tomorrow, would shut down every AI system on Earth within weeks. Something hiding in plain sight at the very beginning of this video. AI is no longer primarily a software race. It has become an energy and infrastructure race. Training a single frontier model today can consume as much electricity as tens of thousands of homes use in an entire year. Running it at scale requires data centers that consume the power output of entire cities. The bottleneck is no longer chips or algorithms, it is power. Which brings us back to where we started. Microsoft restarting 3 Mile Island, Amazon signing agreements with nuclear facilities, Google investing in next-generation geothermal projects. What started with 3 Mile Island has become a private nuclear arms race. Microsoft, Amazon, and Google are now competing to secure atomic energy before their competitors do. Without power, there is no compute. Without compute, there is no AI. Without AI, there is no relevance in the next decade. Whoever controls the energy-to-compute conversion at scale controls the pace of the entire revolution. And this brings us to the fact that almost no one will say out loud. The company that may end up controlling the AI revolution is not building models. It is not making chips. It is not even in the technology sector in the way most people define it. The company that controls the AI revolution may not look like an AI company at all. It may look like a cloud provider, a semiconductor foundry, a data center operator, an energy utility. Because the deepest layer of the AI stack is not intelligence. It is capitalized scarcity. Chips, power, cooling, data center land in the right locations. These are the new oil fields. In 1870, the most powerful companies in America were not the ones that invented the steam engine. They were the ones that owned the railroads. The steam engine was visible, celebrated, revolutionary. But the railroads were invisible, unglamorous, and completely impossible to bypass. The innovators got the credit. The infrastructure owners got the empire. Visible innovation captures attention. Physical infrastructure captures everything else. Now look at where this leads. Not in 20 years. In the next 5. AI is moving into robotics, defense, drug discovery, financial automation, and infrastructure management at national scale. Every application requires more compute, more power, and more physical infrastructure than anything built before. The stack does not get more open over time. It gets more concentrated. Microsoft, Nvidia, TSMC, Amazon, each controls a layer that cannot be removed. Each layer feeds the next. Each dependency makes the system harder to challenge. And then there is Stargate, announced in early 2025 as a $500 billion unified compute empire. By 2026, OpenAI had quietly abandoned the idea of owning its own infrastructure. The costs were too high, the dependencies too deep. Instead of building, it now leases compute from the same companies it was supposed to compete with. Even the most powerful AI company on Earth could not escape the stack. That is not a story about one company failing. That is proof that the stack itself has become impossible to bypass. The next trillion-dollar winner will not build the most impressive AI. It will make its layer of the stack impossible to remove. And several companies are already there. The strategic lesson of this revolution is the same lesson that defined every great technological shift in history. The winners are rarely the inventors. They are the owners of the system that scales the invention. OpenAI invented the product that captured the world's imagination. But Microsoft owns the distribution. Nvidia owns the compute. TSMC owns the fabrication. Amazon and Google own the cloud. Visible innovation gets the headlines. Invisible infrastructure gets the empire. For any business, any investor, anyone trying to understand where power actually lives in the next decade, find the dependency layer beneath the product. Build there. Because that is where margins become permanent, moats become structural, and power survives every hype cycle. And the real question worth leaving with: if the infrastructure layer is already locked, and the cost of entry is already beyond reach for any new competitor, can anyone actually challenge this concentration of power? Any government? Any regulator? Any new entrant? History suggests the answer is no. But history has been wrong before. So who really controls the AI revolution? Not one company, not one chip, not one model. The real control belongs to the companies that understood, before anyone else, that intelligence at scale is an infrastructure problem. Because once AI becomes a system, the winner is no longer the smartest company. It is the company closest to the center of dependency. And that position, once established, may become the most powerful business location in the history of capitalism. If this changed the way you see who wins technological revolutions, subscribe to Titan Theory. Every week we break down the hidden systems, power structures, and strategies behind the world's most powerful empires. Now, everything we covered today is just one layer of a much larger system. The company behind the next video does not make a product you can name. It does not have a storefront, does not have a brand you would recognize walking down the street. But there is a reasonable chance that it owns the building you live in, the hospital that treated you, the hotel you stayed at last year. It has quietly accumulated ownership over the infrastructure of your daily life, the same way the companies we covered today accumulated control over the infrastructure of intelligence. And most people have never heard its name. That is the next video. Titan Theory. Most people see the surface. We show you the system.